My name is Gordon Adomdza, and I'm one of the founders of Design Thinking Ghana. And here with me is Matthew Edo, our wonderful coordinator. And today we're very excited to continue our journey. We do these monthly meetups to continue to put the spotlight on design thinking and how it can be applied to a variety of contexts. Every year we have a conference where we bring together a variety of clients and other collaborators we've worked with over the years, and we talk. And this year we were fortunate to have Shirley Nzeh, who is our guest presenter or collaborator this evening, and we were very fascinated by her work. She likes to play at the frontier of new technology, and being the versatile person that she is, decided to take on the next generation of Web 3. And she has a variety of projects in that space, but wanted to stay true to our sort of our craft, if you will, and ask the question, how can you use design thinking to help you build an NFT project? And so today we're very excited to explore that. We're going to bring her in. She's going to talk about what NFTs are, why NFT projects, how you could be the next NFT project developer based on your interest and so forth. And then we would go on a journey through, we would develop a journey map for an NFT developer. That's you, right? You as an NFT developer, what could you develop? What programs could you develop for or with NFTs? And what could that look like? So without much ado, Matthew, are there any announcements before we bring in Shirley?
No, there are no announcements. And I'll just ask everyone to mute. And if you have a question, just put up your hand and then we'll give you the opportunity to speak. All right.
Okay. Wonderful. So without much ado, let's welcome Miss Shirley Nzeh. Yay.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. It's really great to do this again with Ashesi and Gordon and Matt. You know how much I enjoy working with you guys. So I'm really honored to be here and also keen to interact with you guys who are listening and keen to hear what you find interesting and potentially how you can also get in this space, which is fast emerging and set to grow over the next 10 to 15 years. We're basically looking at the next iteration of the internet. So we need the best minds and we need people from all walks of life, whether your interests lie in arts, design, development, you know. And for me, I think a coder is just a translator. It's like English in a different language, basically. So we need everyone to come on board and help build this, especially in Africa, because I do feel that Africa has some unique challenges that Web3 supports beautifully. So I think, and I hope to see a lot of innovations coming out of Africa. So just kick off, what is Web3? Just a really high level, and then we'll get into NFTs and the different types of NFTs there are. So Web3, a lot of people are kind of like slightly flummoxed by it. So what does it mean? What does it entail? What does it include? So Web3 generally is anything that is on the blockchain. And that is different from things like the metaverse, extended reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. That's separate. That's slightly different, but they kind of do tend to work very well together. And I think those are going to really usher in the next stage of the internet. So on the blockchain, you have numerous layers. So you have the layer zeros, which are the sort of infrastructure, the internet being part of that, for example. And incidentally, that also supports the VR side as well, right? So I said they're really linked and connected together. And then you have layer ones, which are the actual blockchains. So you'll have your Bitcoin and you'll have your Ethereums, you'll have your new protocols, etc. And then you have on top of that bridges. So bridges are things like side chains that help interoperability and help you connect from one layer one to another layer one. So that's the layer twos. And then you have layer threes, which are dApps. So dApps are decentralized applications. And on the dApps, the types of dApps you might have heard of are things like NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens. Normally, they are ERC standard 721, 721As, 1155s, 4970s, like they're different types of data standards. Then you have fungible tokens, which are coins, cryptocurrencies, etc., which are generally ERC20s. And then you have on top of that decentralized autonomous organizations, which are DAOs, which can be used for so many different purposes. Basically, it's basically to organize community activities, voting, governance, and the treasury. And then you also have things like DeFi, which is decentralized finance, which is basically the blockchain version of traditional finance, which we call either CeFi, centralized finance, or TradFi, which is traditional finance. So that's kind of a small introduction to Web3 in a nutshell. Web3, if I were to relate it back to what we've seen in the past, Web1 was very much a content driven, so it's one-way traffic. So it's very much about publishing. Web2 was about two-way traffic, which is user-generated content where you start seeing things like influencers, communities, a connected internet. And Web3 is the internet of ownership. It's the internet where people now own a stake in what they create. It's the internet of value, the internet of incentives. And then you'll hear things like tokenomics, tokenization. That's all about behavioral metrics and how to incentivize certain behaviors. So I think it's a very exciting space. Any questions before I conclude on Web3 and now step into NFTs? Okay. So
I can ask a question. So is Web3 social media?
It does include social media. So we have DSOF, we have decentralized social media. So I think the applications are vast. It's going to be social media, it's going to be education, agri, everything. What matters is that it's on a decentralized, trustless, federated system where it's all permissionless. So in actual fact, anyone can participate without the permission of a centralized party. So you can have that on social media as well. So DSO is one of the examples. It used to be called BitCloud or whatever. So Rally is another one where it's kind of like a social token, and you can build your brand as a social influencer and get paid for the value of the equity that you create. So yeah, in terms of applications, it's really vast and wide. It's going to touch every aspect of life, from medical, finance, everything, governance, everything. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to continue. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens. So I'll contrast fungible tokens with non-fungible. So fungible tokens, I mentioned ERC20s. Non-fungibles are ERC71s, but I mentioned a few other data standards that support those. We also now actually have SVTs, so cell-bound tokens, but I won't go into that too much because they're very new and I think we have a lot to cover already. The difference between fungible and non-fungible. Fungible means it's divisible and it's interchangeable. So divisible means you can get 0.00000 of a Bitcoin, but you can't do that with NFTs. NFTs are an integer. It's like a whole. It's a whole piece. Interchangeable means that if I lose a Bitcoin and someone replaces a Bitcoin, it doesn't matter that the Bitcoin that I lost is not, it makes no difference. I'm restored back to my original position. With NFTs, there's a sense of uniqueness about the asset that you own. So perhaps it's got a specific rarity or even token ID, and it's got different, attributes, etc. It's just like if there were two houses unique, two identical houses in the street. One house has had the Princess of Malta live in it. That house, despite it being exactly the same as the other house, has not. So the one with the princess who's lived in it becomes special because it's got a different past. So if that house burnt down, you cannot just make a copy of that house and say it's special again, because you would need to have that princess to come back in there. So it's unique. And that's what's important about NFTs. There's so many different types of NFTs. NFTs are basically a way to trade, I would say, digital assets, or it's a way to have a representation of anything at all. It could be a football club, shares in a football club, equity of a football club. It could be physical items. It could be your holiday pictures. As long as you can find a buyer, there's value. And if the value will create the demand, and the demand will determine the cost of that NFT. So that's to keep it very short. In terms of applicable use cases, there's so many: access, authentication, ticketing. It's just, and every day the use cases grow. So I'd like to ask if there are any questions on NFTs themselves. I mean, most of you would probably have heard of NFTs with respect to artworks. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. There's nothing like a strange question. Every question is valid. So feel free to put your hand up and I'll come to you. Doris, did you have a question?
Sorry, no.
Okay, fine. Could you kindly mute in that case, please? I see there are comments. Matt, are there any specific questions, or no, it's just hello everyone? So if there are no questions about NFTs or fungible tokens, then
Shirley, I have one.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, so anything can be an NFT.
Yeah.
Maybe, there are different people here. We're asking people to put who they are and what they do into the chat. As we go along, we're going to be asking people what kind of NFT creator could they be, right? So maybe you can give a few more examples. So for instance, I'm gonna out Doris, who we've done a lot of work with. She has a variety of initiatives, but one of them is healthy eating, and it's called longevity, and it's this whole idea of how do we stay healthy, eat healthy, and reduce the incidence of non-communicable diseases, right? So what kind of NFT, just as a quick example, what kind of NFT could longevity by Doris Ahiati build?
Yeah, and it depends what kind of your business model is. So what I would, if I was working with Doris, and if this is a business and initiative, what I would suggest is that you use NFTs to gate access to your community. So to be able to be part of the community, you have to own an NFT, and that NFT will gate access to physical locations as well as your online repositories. So online repositories of information, content, video streams, etc. And you can actually have people who have different tiers who get different access rights within one community. So that is why people care about rarities, right? So if you buy a collection, it's not just about buying into a collection. People will spend time, money, effort to sell the lower ranking tiers with a view to buying something that is rare, because a lot of collector NFT creators do provide customized bespoke access privileges to people who own certain things, such as the Moonbirds with the magic hats, as that's run by the Proof ecosystem. The ones with the magic hats got a personalized magic show from David Blaine when they attended NFT NYC. So it really depends on your business. And that is why I also like to not consider NFTs in a silo. Effectively, I feel they layer beautifully into existing businesses. And what they have to do, what we have to do, or what we do as consultants, is understand what is your need, what are you trying to create? And then we try to find the best way to structure the way in which Web3 can fit into that and increase automation, reduce manual labor, waste such as paper trail, ink, all that is just gone. There's just no need for it anymore. And I'm a big fan of that as a proponent of a sustainable business. Just waste is just gone now. So that's an example of how I'd work with Doris. Get your community, sell access to it. People who value it will buy and be able to access different content. They can buy multiple, they can sell it. Trading is another effective way to, generate revenue also for yourself, but also value for your holders. And also there are now NFTs functions whereby if you, for example, I'm not in Accra, and what I used to like about Doris's business is going to her physical event. So I can now rent my NFT out to someone else and get passive income from it until I'm back in Accra, and then I take ownership of that NFT back, right? So that is brilliant value for your holders.
So let me again, one of the things we definitely, we're all user-centered, so making it more tangible is always a focus. So I'm going to reiterate some of the things you said about Doris building an NFT based on her concept longevity, which is healthy eating, healthy foods and all of that. So you're saying she mints an NFT collection, she sells it to a number of people who are interested in belonging to this longevity club. And based on the type of NFT they buy, they have access to a number of longevity products and places, right? So maybe you have access to the gym at Kempinski, and you have access to the pool at Legon, and you have, you get food stuff delivered to you, and that's all part of that could be an NFT type you own, and a longevity NFT type you own. And if you're not in Accra for 3 months, you rent out this longevity NFT to somebody who uses it, maybe at a discount, until you come back. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Now, can I get a reaction from Doris on that before we move on? I don't know if she's able to
Not just
speak.
Doris. I think anyone who's interested in this, like the
Sure.
options are just insane.
Maybe we can get some reactions to that as an NFT program before you move on, Shirley. Anybody thinking, "Oh, I could apply this to my business, my craft, my hustle, build a community around what I have, sell NFT tokens, people can trade among themselves on the platform." Yes, Ebenezer. Ebenezer, you can unmute and speak.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm from Ghana. I'm with Akanyue Foundation. These are the things we do. We support brilliant students who sometimes are not close to us but far. So how will the NFT here apply here? That's one. We again having healthcare services that we do support people who cannot have health services done. In that context, what can we apply it here? Then the last two is we empower, we give empowerment to widows and women's group, skill training. Could this also be applied here to fasting? So these are the things I do. So with these things, how will this NFT support this whole concept as we run as an organization? Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just, you made 3 points. You talked about widows, the third, you talked about people with lack of access to medical. What was the first set of people you supported?
Yes, we supported people in that context.
Were there 3 stakeholders? Because I think I missed the first one. I just didn't catch it. You mentioned
I think it's children, right?
Children.
No, just generally, not only children, general. When we come out for healthcare services, we don't regard.
You don't differentiate. Okay, I think
but provided our service.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's great. So I think you can do a membership NFT. I think that would be really great. And this is something I'm already working on with some other people. If you're you can have it as one collection. You can have it as an 1155. Personally, I'd probably more do it as unique one of ones, which is the 721s or 721As, which has optimized gas fees. And then I'm assuming a lot of these people are challenged financially. So I think the minting could be done on Polygon sidechain, which allows people to interact with Ethereum, but with low gas fees, which is really great. Any concerns about impact investment have now been allayed because Ethereum is doing the merge on the 15th or 16th of September. So now I think it's going to reduce its carbon footprint by, I think it was 99.5%, like a huge amount. So that's all great. So you could effectively mint a membership token, and within that you can have different tiers, and those tiers can effectively reflect the types of privileges that each one of your members have. They can have access to whatever privileges for as long as they hold the token. If they dispose of the token, they'll no longer be able to access those privileges anymore. That's normally how it works. Unless you have a need to have a sort of lifelong attachment to something, that's when you can use an SBT. So, I mean, there's so many options. It really depends on what you want to build. It's really the experience is as rich as your imagination.
Okay. But this programs of us, they are long-term ones, and we intend not running into a particular region, but the whole country, Ghana. So it is a long time projects we're running.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's what NFTs are here for. They're for everyone to be on the blockchain. And the beauty of that is it's so easy to verify ownership. They'll just give you their token. You can go and check that they hold it. And you don't even have to do that. If they go to a physical location and they need to have ownership of this thing, that verification can be done at point of sale, POS. They could just scan the phone of the person. I mean, sadly, it does have to be a smartphone, and then immediately check that they own that membership token in their wallets. I think it's absolutely fabulous. And if they don't own it, they will not be able to claim rights to the services that you provide by way of membership.
Okay. I'm most grateful. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Good.
Thank you, Ebenezer. We have Tahiru's hand up as well.
Okay, so good evening to everyone. I'm also speaking from Ghana. I wanted to ask Shirley if she could throw some more light on how the NFT markets operations are like, the open seas. I mean, so that maybe for people who are not too familiar, I mean, this thought came up when you were asking if we could give examples of maybe how things that we can apply through NFTs. So I said maybe if she throws some light on the markets, how it operates. If I want to do, I'm moving ahead of there, but that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I'll probably need a bit more context in terms of the market. It's very broad. So what in particular do you mean? Are you talking about the marketplaces, or what does market mean?
Tahiru, if you're talking, you're on mute. Unmute and talk.
Okay, so that was just the question. I wanted to ask for some more light on the NFT market, like how it operates, how it works.
you qualify that question a little bit? It's just vague. Do you mean marketplaces? Do you mean tools? Do you mean people working in the market? A market is an ecosystem of different players, tools. Do you know what I mean? So can you please?
Yeah, so in terms of the participants, I mean, so if I want to do an NFT project, I mean, where do I start? Where do I go? Which kind of people or which kind of entities do I get to interact with? And so just the flow.
Yeah.
I hope it's clear now.
Yeah, it's clearer. So
Thank you.
here's the thing. So I mentioned earlier on this call that I don't think we should look at NFT in a silo, because the only reason we relate to NFTs as something new in of itself is just because it's new. For some of us who've been in the field for a long time, we've been dealing with NFTs for over 10 years, and they weren't called NFTs, right? They were called something else. So NFTs is kind of more marketing term. So there's nothing like a marketing project, so to speak. So I think what you should look at is, what are you trying to do? Who are you trying to do it for? And what is the value you're trying to create? The NFT is just the enabling technology that helps facilitate that. I hope that makes sense. So if you wanted to start an NFT project, you're not doing an NFT project. What you're doing is a project that creates an output that is going to be used by people to add value to their lives. And the NFT is just the sort of the icing on the cake in terms of the automation, visibility, etc. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So the first thing you start with is, what are we doing? And then how do we use the blockchain to automate it? And that is when we start looking at the toolbox. Is it an ERC token? Is it an NFT? Is it a DAO? Is it a... So in of itself, I just wouldn't say, hey, I'm doing an NFT project, because you'll find you come unstuck, because effectively you have to go back to basic business, basic value, basic incentivization. Thank you.
All right. So Shirley, I think as we discussed, one of the things we want to do is to, I think Tahiru's question also connects with this concept of the journey map of the NFT developer, right? So I was just wondering if maybe we can have another example of NFT application, and then we'll jump onto the journey map. How's that?
Yeah, just be cognizant. I do have a hard stop in 20 minutes. So I'm happy to just go with however you direct me. In terms of the journey map, so you said you were going to do that later, right? So you wanted another example?
We can let's jump in now. Matt, can you share the mural so that we can build it as Shirley talks about the journey map?
Awesome. And Gordon, I don't know if Matt told you, I decided to put in a bit of work last night. Not that I had any free time. So I've come up with a sort of framework that I'd like to give the participants for free. Effectively, it's a framework whereby they can look at the different project stages, hopefully that we're going to discuss, and then try and chart their own, let's say, journeys through the building of that, or the fleshing out of their own sort of project plans and journey maps.
Okay, is that something you can show on the screen?
Yeah, I'll do it really quickly, but I'm happy to give it to them afterwards as well, just so that...
No, let's go through it so that at least we get a sense. I think it will answer Tahiru's question of what does the process look like, what does the market look like. So let's do that.
I mean, it's very bare bones because it's designed as a template that I wanted to gift, but I will happily share that right now, and then we can dive into Mira. So just, your NFT launch, this is a template for you guys. Effectively, you have...
Can you make it bigger?
Oh, it's full screen on my side.
Okay, I guess.
Can you see it now or not?
We can make it full screen on their side. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's getting bigger. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, the key stages of projects, you know, and you can do the journey maps, you can do the sort of the metrics, the customer, you know, you can layer everything. But ultimately, that all comes under people, right? Because if you're looking at people, you're going to have internal, external. This is really high level. And within that, you can go into more detail. So I'm going to go across first and then we'll go down. So initially, you have the concept and feasibility. Concepts. Let's come up with a concept. What's the concept someone's thinking about? We talked about longevity. Should we take that?
Yeah, that's good. I could throw in another one.
Okay.
This is a project that we were trying to do at Ashesi. We're trying to build Ashesi NFT. Ashesi's mission is to educate ethical entrepreneurial leaders. So for us, it's the question of one NFT encapsulates the concept of ethical entrepreneurial leader.
Okay.
We'll go all the way from, you know, project features to artwork, even artwork, right? What kind of artwork you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's an ethical entrepreneurial leader.
Yeah.
Cartoon or something like that, you know.
Okay. You're gonna hate me, but I think I'll use longevity. Because yours is principles, and principles are soft, right? And it's open to interpretation. So that needs to be defined, clearly defined, articulated. We need to know what good looks like and stuff. Whereas I think longevity is pretty straightforward. Longevity through health and health management rather than getting sick and all that kind of stuff. So if you wanted to do something like that and you have a concept, you just think, well, what can I do? What is the concept? What am I trying to sell to people? Is it education, community? There's so much value in communities. People underestimate the value in connecting with like-minded people. That in itself is enough. And Gordon, I shared this story with you yesterday, right? Paid thousands of dollars to join a community. I was very upset when the floor price crashed, but the value I've gotten from the community far outweighs. Well, I'm not going to say it's actually crossed how much I feel I paid, but it really does add value to my life. Incredible people, great smarts, resources. So we cannot underestimate the value of community and having people around you that do that. Another thing, I'll give you an example. People always talk about, for me, mentorship coaches. My approach, I make my mentors my friends. So I don't pay anyone. So imagine being in a community where the people you would otherwise get mentorship from are your people, your peers. That is awesome. So you have to shape the concept and you have to shape what people would want to be around, pay for, make time for, because payment is not always just cash. It's also time and investment, right? So you have to develop the concept. You have to think of people, internal and external. Internal, who are the teams you need? How do you make this work? What skills do you need, right? How do you recruit those skills? So that's the internal piece. I'm not going to go too much into that because we need to cover a lot. And then you also have the external. Who are we trying to connect with? Where do we find these people? How do we want them to feel? What messages do we use? You've got so much. I mean, it's tiny little box. So this is clearly just a template. This can be broken down into so many other pieces, for sure. At the concept stage also, you might want to consider your processes. At this point, it's just high-level processes, onboarding, offboarding, dispute resolution. You know, there's just not enough meat and bones around the project yet, but it's a start, the basic stuff that you need to consider. You also maybe want to consider the technology you're going to use. First of all, how are people finding you? Your funnel, what does that look like? Is it Twitter? You know, everyone thinks Web3 project, Discord. I'm done with Discord. So now there's a sort of backlash against all that. And a lot of people are just saying, let's just have Twitter. It's easy. It's not stressful. I don't have to spend my whole working day because I've actually got a job and a life, you know, and a family. Do you know what I mean? So we need to make it work for the people that we're hoping to attract and retain. So you might want to look at how your technology fits in, supports that, and how that funnels down into wherever you want people to go. So that's kind of like the sales funnel, but also the automation, also the onboarding, also the offboarding, also the security elements. So when you have your community, we talked about gating. So are you automating that? You really should, because there's just absolutely no way you're going to do that manually. And that is what, for example, an NFT allows that Web2 doesn't at the moment. And then information as well. I won't talk too much about information. Well, actually, I will. So information, we're looking at things like policy. We're looking at things like procedures to some extent, even though procedure comes under process, but you're capturing information. And then with that, you have things like legal, right? You've got to consider, am I collecting this information for a reason, or are you just being greedy? Because people think, let me collect all the data. But actually, data storage costs a lot of money. It might be useless, because if you're not using it, why collect it? And you can get sued for having, just being irresponsible. Okay. And then you have to think about securing that, transferring it across borders, because people want to know where that data is being stored, who's utilizing it. And you also have to look at the spread of your people. Are they in countries where they're protected by certain laws such as GDPR? So even if you're not necessarily bound by GDPR because you think, hey, I'm in a jurisdiction outside of Europe, I would go with the best practice, because that they've already done the work for you. Because at some point when it rolls out to your region, you don't now want to be firefighting. And the other thing is, whether you're in Ghana or not, if you're providing to someone in Europe, you might be caught by that. So it's really important to know who you're serving and what your minimum standard in terms of assurance with respect to security, risk management, everything, what you need to deliver. So I don't know if, that helps. If there are any questions, just put your hands up and then I'll kind of step through the rest of this. So, I think we're clear on the people, process, technology. This is how I address all my projects. So we built like target operating models for businesses. And then I always use this formula. So then you go to the design. Again, you're looking at who, internal, external, you're looking at the processes. And when you say design, what are you actually, you're now moving from concept and feasibility to designing the actual what that you're selling. What is the NFT? What does it look like? Is it a free mint? Is it a utility token? Is it something that you kind of want to have as a sort of asset? And you need to be very careful, because if it's an asset that is not tied to utility, you're running into the area of securities, which is governed by a regulator. Like in Ghana, I'm not so sure. But again, it might not just be limited to Ghana, because if you're selling to people in certain jurisdictions, you are coming into their line of fire now. So you need to understand how securities are regulated. It's very, very tricky. So you kind of need to think about all that. And you have to also figure out, what your risk response plan is. If, for example, we get caught on this regulation, what is the action you have to take should this happen, good or bad? So risk is, people think risk is bad. I love risk. I think it's amazing. That's because I'm a trained risk manager, right? So risk is nothing but future uncertainty. There is a risk it might rain today. So a lot of people might see that as a bad thing. It depends on which side of the fence you sit. If you've been sitting in England for the last month where it's parched dry, there are, fires because of, just dry conditions and risk of flooding, I'm happy for that rain, but I'd be happy for that rain if I'm on high ground. For people on low ground, they're not going to be happy for that rain because there's risk of flooding, that, the water doesn't sink into the grass, so they flood. So everything depends on where you are. You need to figure out where you are and then figure out the opportunities, right? So something that might be bad for someone else could be really good for you. And then you need to decide, do we accept the risk? Do we, in fact, accentuate it so that it gives us better benefit? So you need to design all of this. You design the onboarding, the processes, the offboarding, the security, everything. Then you build. So building is actually making it happen, right? Whether it's forms, and when I say build, I'm even talking about Excel spreadsheets, forms that people fill in, Discord servers, dApps, so decentralized applications, no-code applications. There are loads of no-code applications. You don't even need code to deploy a contract anymore. You got to build it. Then you need to test it, go through the testing phase, make sure it works for all of these things. And then pre-launch for me is things like, you know, and while we're doing all of this, in the people section, you're probably also looking at things like marketing, targeting. I mean, when I say people, you could break people down into so many different layers, so many, right? But within that, you're also using things like data, because obviously you need data on the people that you are talking to, so you can formulate your messages. I don't know if I've lost anyone, because I'm looking at the screen and there are no questions. Matt, are there any questions? You want to stop me? Because I'm not looking at that.
Shirley, could you probably get a bit practical with building and design and building a longevity project?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I'll just check time. Oh gosh, got 7 minutes. All right, fine. So I'll give you an example. I wasn't quite prepared for this, but I'll give you an example of one of the solutions we're trying to build as an example for how longevity can effectively take their product to market. So one of the experiences we're building, for example, is an official association for Web3 practitioners. Please ignore this. This is where we come and share ideas. So it's a friend of mine. So when you're building, you've already got the concept. In terms of the tools, you need to figure out what are the outputs. So to build this experience, one of the things that we've done, so W3P, it's Web3 professionals, and we've already agreed our tools. So some of our tools are going to be things like the Discord. Our tools are going to be the NFT itself. Our tools are going to be our events, like, because one of the value propositions that we're presenting is the genius call. So every week we're going to have a genius call where someone presents a tool or something amazing they've discovered or uncovered, and we share that amongst the community. So you need to have your outputs. So what are the outputs you want? So longevity, are you on the call? Can you just give an example? Sorry, I thought, let me just reshare again. Sorry. I haven't been able to stop. I thought I was sharing my screen, but I wasn't.
No, you were.
Okay, let me just go back. Oops. Is longevity on the call? Can you give me an example of what we might build?
Longevity sounds like a brand that is like ours. I'm not sure. Prof, can you confirm, please?
Yes, I used you as an example.
Okay.
So you are
right. So okay. So I'm wondering what will be a good example of a product. Our products are, should I say, ready to consume, poultry products, vegetables, and then the service side is lifestyle consulting. Does that help, Shirley?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'm not going to go for physical products right now because that's kind of e-com, which I do have experience in because I sold on Amazon, so I know all about product launch, etc. Just in terms of the service piece, I think we could start there, just in view of the time that we have. So, for example, with the service piece, what I would do is definitely have some sort of community. You don't have to have Discord. Discord is not the only place to collect a community. But for me, it works because everyone in Web3 is just obsessed with Discord. This is one of the communities I'm part of. It's part of our investment DAO. So one of the products that we built was this Discord server, right? So I helped build this, like I'm instrumental in building this. And within that, we have other products. So some of the products are things like we have the reports. So everyone gets, the investors get reports every week, what's happening for the different squads. So that's when I say product, it's like what is the value you're creating? Why are people paying for this besides joining a community, right? So this is, I've got 3 minutes actually, we're about to jump in this call, and you can see one of the products we build is a report for everyone to see what has happened. And this is part of what we do, right? We build value. And so you've got to figure out what is the product you want to build. There's going to be multiple. There could be information products. event products, etc. And then you just start building it. That's it. And you test it with your community. Yeah, and then you iterate as well, because the community, one of the other things we do is the floor price. So that's another product. You come here, I don't even have to go to OpenSea. I can see the floor price of the squads that, the assets we own. So this whole thing is in itself is worth a lot for the how many members I think they're about 20 offline right now. Oh, that's just in this squad, right? But yeah. So sorry, I don't know how we do this, Gordon. I've really got to round up. So but I'd love to.
But that's fine. What I'll do when you leave is I'll show examples of some of the NFT communities like Bored Apes and so forth. See how people are, to show how people have built communities around these concepts. And yeah,
I mean,
so
it's an interesting one because I think they are really exceptional. But whether it's replicable is an issue, because now there's a lot of light being shed on how they became so big. I mean, Bored Ape is run by Guy Osiri, who is the manager of Madonna. So it's not really something that ordinary people can replicate. That's just kind of my opinion. When they first started out, it was just 4 guys, oblivious, just there's a lot of stuff actually now, because there's a law case on how the IP, and it's really shedding a lot of light onto how they came to being. I think a good example would be, for me, Moonbirds, the Proof Collective. Kevin Rose is an entrepreneur. He's been in this game for a long time. He's 100% transparent. I think he's clean. Sorry, not to say Bored Ape isn't, but there's just too much noise around them right now. I think Kevin Rose is a sterling example of how a project would want to be. They're so good. Him, G Money is another one. G Money, small product, very few NFTs, but he selects everyone one by one, hand by hand, like literally handpicked people. Another one is Gentleman's Croquet Club. Is a guy, really young guy, and they interviewed over 20,000 people to select the people they're allowed to mint. So what they wanted to avoid were people who are going to buy and dump, and so people put a lot of effort into this, and I think those communities are amazing, because nobody wants to sell. Nobody wants to sell the NFT unless they absolutely have to. But Moonbirds is one. I think I'll show really quickly. I might be a bit late for this, but oh crap, I'm late. Sorry, but I think it's worth showing, because Moonbirds, I'm a big fan of them. And I'm a fan for a reason. And they're actually leading a lot of the space right now. And it's because Kevin Rose has an amazing track record. He's got a lot of respect from some key players. 776, Alexis Ohanian even invested in them 10 million. Their mint was groundbreaking, to say the least. It's a lot to learn from them and what they do. So the price is slightly going up. We actually own a few of these. So these guys, if you just read the story, you'll learn so much about what they do. Follow their account. They are, for me, like, wow. So Bored Ape is interesting. It's just, for me, I think authenticity matters and organic growth matters as well. Bored Ape is definitely the leader. I actually own some assets in Bored Apes. Yuga Labs, I own lands as well. But I think their story is quite unique because of the person at the top. And it's hard to replicate for everyday people, I think. So, guys, I'd like to thank you so much for having me here. I am going to leave you in great hands.
Thank you so much, Shirley.
It's been a pleasure, and we'll speak soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So just to sort of continue the conversation a little bit, it was a question of how can we people here build NFTs? And I think the examples that Shirley was sharing. Just 1 second here. Let me share my screen. Yeah, so this platform is called OpenSea, and I think that's what Tahiru was pointing to. This is like the largest marketplace where you can buy and sell NFTs. It's like your Amazon of NFTs. So you can start a project on your own website. If it's longevity, healthy eating club. So you have a club, you have a following, you build your social media following, you have projects, programs, people go for walks, they subscribe to a food vouchers, you have all that going on. It's a program that you have, maybe it's hosted on Facebook and so forth. Then you can take that program, mint an NFT, which is basically like your currency for people to join and take it to the blockchain or to OpenSea and list it here. So Bored Ape Yacht Club has its own website, a couple of other examples that I'm going to show. But as Shirley was saying, here the NFT buying and selling is in many ways the easy part. The hard part is what can you get if you own this NFT 8922 of this particular Bored Ape? What does it get you? So we're saying that in the example with longevity, let's say you own this Bored Ape, it's very, let me see, what's the most expensive one here? I don't even know if it goes by price because then I'm also new to NFTs, but if you buy a very expensive NFT or a particular type of NFT, then, and it could be 6386 or something like that, then according to the program behind the NFT, this particular NFT allows you to do XYZ, join the gym at, Airport Square 1, use the pool at Legon. And if you show up at the pool at Legon, you say, I don't pay when I come here because I have Bored Ape NFT 3686. And then they pull it up on the phone and they scan you in and you're in, right? I know a story of this guy who gave a friend of hers was in Dubai, and she said, oh, I'm in Dubai, and he said, oh, I'll give you this NFT, you can go to this particular yacht club and get on a boat ride. And so he sent it to her. So in that moment, she owns the NFT. She goes to the yacht club. They scan her in, and she gets on a boat. And it's so basically, she's able to enjoy that particular perk that is attached to the NFT that she just received. So the NFT then becomes a sort of the currency that you can use to enjoy services that are built, that the NFT is built on. So a lot of the work is on what's called the utility. What exactly are you building? What project are you building? My good friend Yao Adomdza is here. He is the founder of CSR, community. I'm blanking on it all. What's CS? It will come. But he does a lot of projects in rural areas. He brings people from the US and other places. They come live. Then the current one he did is in a town called Kontomire in the in Ashanti region, and they, students come from different universities around the world, and they come and they do projects in Contemporary. So if y'all launched an NFT project it's called community. It'll come. If y'all launched an NFT project, an NFT on his program, right, and he sold it on OpenSeas, then students from all over the world can buy. The organization is called CSI, Community Social Innovation, Community Social Center for Social Innovation, Center for Social Innovation. So y'all launch it, Center for Social Innovation NFTs, sells it on OpenSeas. All right. You buy the CSI NFT, and you can come to Ghana. And when you come to Ghana, you can do XYZ based on the type of NFT you buy. Some of them will allow you to meet the president or whatever. Some of them will allow you to tour the, Cape Coast Castle and so forth. But it depends on the type that you buy, right? So that's an example. Then there's also the part where in sort of the process of launching Shirley didn't talk a lot about it, but the process is called minting. And the artwork is often generated by a computer. So you have to put in the characteristics or the features of the artwork, right? So an example of, I wanted to show, I don't know if this is an example, but there is this NFT called, I think it was called Hippos. This looks like it. So imagine this is probably like a 5,000 collection. This seems a little different, but the original Hippos, I think it was like 5,000 NFT collection. How do you get artwork up to 5,000? It's generated by the computer. You put in the features that you want. I was giving the example of if we want to launch the Ashesi NFT, and this is something that we're actually working on this fall. We have to put in the definition of what our Ashesi NFT will be. What are the features? We want ethical, we want entrepreneurial, we want leadership. So we put all of these qualities into the platform, and it generates artwork, that a variety of artwork, maybe up to 5,000, that has these qualities, leadership, whatever, and maybe we say African as well. So it would have a combination of, art pieces that all of it are in a collection of the Ashesi NFT. But as you realize, if we mint that, that's the easy part. The question is, if you buy an Ashesi NFT, maybe if you look at the picture, it skews more towards leadership than entrepreneurship. What do you get with it? What can you do with it? So we have to build a whole program on the back end that allows people to enjoy certain perks. It's called utility, by holding that NFT. We think that people all over the world can buy an Ashesi NFT, which allows them access to Ashesi resources, Ashesi students, Ashesi projects that they can participate in. In this particular example, the person built something, used the concept of hippo, but then built the machine generated hippos on pop stars, right? So this guy here is 69. If you know that pop star, he's 69. I don't know who this is. Maybe Aretha Franklin. This may be a Canadian rapper. What's his name? starts with the D, and so forth, right? This is probably Snoop Dogg. I don't know. Maybe this is Eminem. Drake. This may be Drake. You know, you don't know who that might be. So it depends. So your whatever you put in. Oh, their names here. This is Notorious. This is Notorious HIP. Whatever. So whatever you put in can generate a large collection, but again, it's not about the collection, it's about the utility behind the collection. So let me pause here and see if anybody is listening to them like, I think I might have a project. Who would that be? I mean, obviously we would have wished to go on a mural board and map out the whole process. But we're thinking maybe we can do that again. So anybody, Imat, I think it was Ebenezer, and then this Tahiru is also here. Tahiru, did you get answer your question answered about the marketplace?
Yes, Doc. I think this illustration has been very helpful. So you given I'm saying that this illustration has been very, very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything you might be interested in building?
For not really. I'm just looking at it, from the perspective of a regulator, financial sector regulator. So maybe based on the use cases and these NFTs, I guess you have to, the currency to trade them is cryptocurrency.
Right.
Right. So my interest is more on if we want to encourage NFT projects in our space, maybe what role will the financial regulator play? What are the examples of maybe that is what are the examples of how this is handled in other jurisdictions and all that. That's where my interest. But for innovation or for any particular application, I don't really have anyone in mind at the moment. Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome. Yeah, and we know that people buy Bitcoin here, right? So, I think at the end of the day, the way to think about it is you have a wallet, just like you have an MTN wallet, and you go on OpenSea and you buy something, right? And I think it's called Ethereum. So you buy something for 1 Ether, 2 Ether, or 0.5 Ether, or point something Ether. But again, I want to, and it's true, we need to really think about how the regulations come in. But I think what's also really, really important is the question of what kinds of projects can we build that can have international relevance, that will allow people all over the world. Because again, you can launch an NFT project here in Ghana, and if it only concerns people in Ghana, how much traction and volume are you going to get? Versus building an NFT project that is international. So people can buy it from America to do something here in Ghana, right? Or people can buy from Ghana and so forth. People can rent it. People who buy it in Ghana can rent it. You can rent your NFT to somebody who lives in the States, maybe to engage in a project here in Ghana. So there's so many opportunities that come with that it comes with.
Doc, maybe the other side that we we have to be looking is also, I don't know, maybe to build some level of awareness that will, so that maybe we also have our artists in Ghana here and all that, maybe how they can all leverage this. If that awareness is entrenched, maybe a lot of, it may find a lot of uses, you know, a lot of value for the Ghanaian economy as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point about awareness. Because what we realize is that it's so difficult for people to wrap their heads around this. People would do cryptocurrency, no problem. But it's difficult for them to think about projects, the opportunities, to really process the opportunities. So the awareness is extremely important. Then the other part too, which I think we talked about at the conference, is how do we build a platform that is inclusive? So, for instance, how do you build a platform that my mother and aunties in the village can participate in just through Momo, right? Do they have to be sort of super literate, super digitally literate and all of that to participate in our NFT project? I mean, so far it shows like they don't have to be. They just need to understand it. Once the utility behind it is so powerful and clear, anybody can participate. So from that perspective, you can think of tourism projects that are built on NFTs. So I'm coming to Ghana and I rent an NFT from somebody who lives in Ghana who has an NFT that gives me certain perks when I go to Cape Coast, right? Or the person comes from the north and they hold an NFT and they rent it to me, and I'm in the north, and because I have this NFT, I can do so many things. I could go see this person, go see that person, and they make money from that. So it looks like the opportunities are there, and what we really need to figure out is how to build projects that that can embrace these opportunities. Any other thoughts? Okay, let me see. Is there anything in the chat? All right, so we hope you are inspired. Based on interest, we run design thinking projects. We'll be happy to run a design thinking projects challenge that takes a number of people through the process of building a project, an NFT project. So if that interest is there, please let us know. I'm sure you got the link through our email address. Please respond to say I'm interested, or maybe even put it in the chat now. We'll collect the names, and then we'll pull people who are interested together into a session, and we'll go a little deeper. We'll help people explore the genesis of building a project that they can potentially launch on OpenSea or some other platform. So if you're interested, you just let us know. Respond to our email or hit us up. You can send a message to us and we will pull a group together to do a project. All right, any last thoughts before we adjourn?
Hello, Emmanuel here.
Hello, Emmanuel.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to learn a lot. I think it's been very educative. And I just picked a few ideas. Maybe I'll share with you later. Considering the rich African store of art we have and how we could leverage it on some of these platforms at least. So I'll definitely get in touch, and thank you for this opportunity to learn a lot from your crew.
Absolutely. It's a very, very good point. Rich store of African art, emblems, all kinds of representations of our culture that we can leverage. Thank you for that, Emmanuel. Anybody else? Yao Dijanfi says it's been an interesting and educative presentation and subsequent engagement. I look forward to the next steps in terms of how we can collaborate to get some projects going. Wonderful. All right. So without any other comments, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate keeping the conversation going. We need to do more. We need to do more of these sessions, talk about user-centeredness around these and share new ideas, keep alive, if you will. So thank you for responding to our call. Matt, any announcements?
Not really. So I think as Doc already said, if you want to get in touch, the emails I sent across has a WhatsApp platform. You can just join the WhatsApp platform, and if you want to get in touch easily, my name on the platform is Matt, so you can just link me up, and then whatever projects you have in mind, whatever thoughts, I'll convey it to the team, and then how.
Matt, your line is very muffled.
My line is very
muffled, so we can hear you, but we can barely understand what you're saying.
Sorry. So I was saying that the email I sent across has a WhatsApp platform link. You can just join the WhatsApp group through the link, and then you get in touch with us. And whatever ideas you have, you can just convey it to me on the platform. I'm Matt, so just get in touch, and then whatever projects you have in mind, we see how best we can coordinate that and execute your NFT project for you. And thank you all for joining, and we really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, everybody. See you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank
you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Doris.
Okay, bye.